Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Albany County Commission regular meeting for January 4th, 2022, the New Year edition. Can you guys hear me out online? Sheriff Applehands, can you hear us, or Rob?
This is Rob. I can hear you. Great.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Commissioner Rivera.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson, not yet here. Commissioner Gilsar is here. If you'd stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 3, public hearing. There is none. Item 4, comments from the public. Would anybody like to make a comment today? Here, we'll go in the meeting room. How about online? And one more time in the meeting room and online. Commissioner Rivera, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Excuse me. Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Item 5, disclosures. Commissioner Rivera, any?
I have none.
And I have none also. 6, considerations of changes to the agenda. Jennifer, please.
Commissioners, good morning. I think we need to remove item 10, which is the city EMS MOU. Ian Johnson and I need to have a little further conversation. And then I didn't give him enough notice that they could get it on the city's agenda as well. So we'll get that done on our next meeting.
Okay. Thanks, Jackie.
Mr. Chairman, can I also ask that item number 17 be removed, as I am not in receipt of any request for Title III funds at this time?
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay. Item 7, approval of the consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Seconded. Done. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 8, present for approval proclamation proclaiming MLK Day of Service 2022. Kayla, are you here, or Evelyn? See you both here.
Hi, everybody. I'm here, and so is Evelyn. I don't know if you would like me to read the proclamation, but I did write down some words I'd like to like explain the proclamation, if that's okay.
You don't necessarily have to read it unless you'd like to, Kayla, but
Okay. I just have a few words I'd like to say. So I just want to say thank you for your consideration and support for the proclamation that United Way has worked to create. We are excited to see the Martin Luther King Jr. Day become recognized as a day of service. Having the county acknowledge MLK Day, acknowledge MLK Day as a day to give back to the community by participating in community service activities will be a great way to honor King, create his vision of a beloved community, and strengthen our community overall. There are so many local nonprofits and local organizations that need volunteers' assistance so they can keep improving and providing for those in need in Albany County. We hope that through the promotion and the county support on MLK Day of Service, we'll increase the culture of volunteerism, especially on MLK Day, but hopefully every day in our community. For the project specifically, United Way, with the support of the city, county, and the university, has created a webpage on the United Way website that will list various volunteer opportunities. So if anyone wants to find some way to give back and participate, you can check out our website. We will also have donation drop boxes during the week of the 17th. The 17th is MLK Day, and that'll go through the whole entire week, Monday through Friday. These drop boxes will be placed at City Hall, County Courthouse, and the University of Wyoming Union Building for those who want to give back but aren't able to volunteer at the moment. And all those donations will be given to United Way partner agencies. I just want to say thank you to the county commissioners for your support on proclaiming that every MLK Day this year, moving forward, be recognized as an MLK Day of Service, and we hope to make a huge impact on the community. Thank you.
Caitlin, Commissioner Rivera, any questions or thoughts? Caitlin, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention, and I really do appreciate it. MLK was a hero of mine, and I really do believe this is important about building community. So we talked about it at our program directors and elected officials meeting yesterday, and hopefully we'll get some county folks who have a little extra time to help out on the 17th. So thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and allowing us to issue and support this proclamation.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion for item 8.
I move that we approve the proclamation proclaiming MLK Day of Service 2022.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing seen and all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 9, discuss expertise regarding wind power sightings. Mike, let me get that information to you. It's 062 102.
062102.
Yes, sir.
That's it?
Yep.
Well, it says invalid.
It's up on the screen too.
Or on that. There's on this one as well.
Oh, I got you.
My son got home from work very late.
Oh, jeez.
And he got his car stuck in the driveway. And he didn't, I guess, want to wake me up or something. So I was working this morning. I get everybody lined up and I walk outside. I can't leave.
Was that Jay? Did you work at the airport late?
So I had to hook onto it and drag it out of the way so I could come to it. Because he's still sleeping. He was working late.
Yeah.
Where does Noah work?
He works for me.
Okay.
He also has a gig moving cars for dealerships. Like if you buy a car
Have to
from
drive it
here
somewhere.
and you live in Cheyenne, they'll deliver it to you. And so he has fun doing that.
I used to do that as a back and forth from Cheyenne.
That's a
Yeah,
great
or
thing.
they'll go to Brighton or Fort Collins or wherever. Take cars to the auction, go get them from the rail yard in Denver or wherever. You know, I think it's kind of fun. And, never got a car unstuck so fast in my life.
You're not connected now, Mike?
Well, I am, but for some reason just entered all the information. Oh, now it looks like it's connected. Do you want me to present it up here?
Sure, that would be great.
It says it's connected. We'll see.
Okay.
There you go. Mute the audio on.
You ever get to hang out with Jay or talk to him or anything?
Yeah, I worked with him. Yeah,
I think he's pretty decent at his job. He's a good kid.
yeah.
Okay, so where am I?
Yeah, I see you joined the meeting, but I don't see that your
Let me see if I can get,
presentation isn't up just yet, Mike.
yeah, there we go. Fortunately, it's not where it's supposed to be. Here we go. Okay,
Still don't see it on our big screen.
it's not up there.
Did you join the share screen, Claire?
I thought I did.
So quick. Somewhere there's a.
Sorry, I'm a technical idiot.
That's quite all right. This
Sorry.
is,
If you click this, what does it do? It says it's host is disabled participant screen sharing.
Sends an email to user help to see if they could come.
So we have to let him in.
yep, he's in.
Commissioner Gosar,
Yes, sir.
who is trying to share?
Mike Lockhart is trying to share.
I believe we have to make him a co-host, so let me do that real fast.
Then we can't get Zoom ball.
Right.
Have any participant share.
Oh, Adam says he's not to be co-host, but he's headed over.
Okay. Well, Mike, how about, well, Adam's headed on the way. You give us a little background about yourself and kind of discussion we're going to have with you this morning. Go ahead.
Say the second part of that.
And the discussion that we might have with you.
Okay, yeah, my name is Mike Lockhart, and I'm a local person. I've worked for 33 years with Fish and Wildlife Service previously. Retired in 2008. Been working most of my time, a graduate degree and undergraduate work was on golden eagles. And right now, since 2000, well, actually 2011, I've been working on golden eagles and wind power projects. And since 2014, I've really been involved in a detailed study that's looking at risk assessments of wind power development on golden eagles. So that'll get me through a couple of slides.
It says sharing is disabled.
Yeah. You showed me that and I completely spaced it out. Sorry about that.
It's okay. We're all there.
So we can just go down.
They just wanted that, correct?
That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this. It's a really important topic, I think. And I'll try to go through this. I don't know how much time you have. If I'm going too slow, if you need to ask a question about something that's on the screen, please do so. I'll have questions at the end as well. But anyway, this went through a little background of what I did. And I had some position statements that I really want to emphasize. And the first one, of course, is climate change. I think that's one of the most important issues that's affecting our environment in the country and the world today. And I think it requires immediate action and very difficult policies that we're going to need to work on to expand to non-carbon based solutions. But those solutions can't really occur at the expense of other really important natural resources. That's what I wanted to talk about today. And I oppose new energy wind developments in Albany and Carbon counties. And I'll try to explain that a little better. So Golden Eagle studies in Wyoming, 2014 to 2017, I was working with the Fish and Wildlife Service contributing samples of tagged birds for their West-wide ecological studies that they were looking at to determine permitting and particularly related to wind power because of the deaths of eagles from wind turbines. I entered into it with an interest in looking at the transmitter packages themselves, which I felt were too big and cumbersome and affecting the behavior and probably the survival of eagles. So I was interested in working on smaller and safer packages, and we've evolved to a better package. So 2017 to present, we're using cell-based transmitters that are smaller and much safer. And that study is going through with the U.S. Geological Service and the Conservation Science Global. It's funded by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. So, of course, to get these tags on birds, we have to trap them. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the discussion on the trapping itself. This is a live lure eagle that I use who attracts the other birds into a bait. The traps have to be completely concealed, and this is actually a successful capture site. When the bird gets caught, it has enough weight that it drags it away and pulls out this bag so that I can see it for miles or a long way, because they can be very wary if you get close to them. And if they associate you with the trap site, they will come down. Recently, I've started using trail cameras. It's really increased the efficiency. And this is just a trail camera with the lure bird and a juvenile coming in, but I also have cell cameras that I use when I have good cell coverage that can actually alert me to the fact when a bird lands. Captured golden eagles are, of course, just rapidly examined for health condition and any potential injuries, age, and the ones that are suitable, that are in good condition and of proper age, which is more than 1 year old. We can put a transmitter on them. For every eagle that's captured, even the ones that we don't tag, we take blood and feather samples for genetic and lead contamination. We go through a series of measurements, including weight, to document sex. Females are larger. And finally, we take pictures of all the plumage patterns just to document age. Since 2014, I've captured 171 golden eagles for these three separate studies, 168 in Wyoming and 3 in Colorado. 109 of those eagles were fitted with satellite tags. You can see this tag in the picture. This is an old PTT based tag, which is very large and cumbersome and actually pretty dangerous. I no longer use those at all. But of the 109, 76 of those were trapped either directly on or right adjacent to wind projects in Wyoming. So what have we learned from these eagles so far? Well, we continue to get daily downloads of really detailed data. When these transmitters are on flight mode, which drains the battery, so sometimes of the year we get off of that, but we can get, if they're flying, we can get a couple of thousand fixes a day, and exactly their flight line and how high they are. So particularly in relation to wind turbines, we can measure how they're interacting with the turbines themselves. So in the example that I have here is this eagle GRRH, which was trapped up by Rolling Hills, actually, Glenrock Rolling Hills. That bird was trapped up there, but is since using almost entirely the Shirley Basin area. And one of the things that we're trying to do is project risk of wind farms, but unfortunately the data is so complex and there's so much of it. We literally have tens of millions of data points that analysis is falling way behind. And I'm actually not part of the statistical analyses, I'm just the trapper. But nevertheless, there's a lot of basic information that we do have gathered. And this picture itself of the eagle's movements is pretty telling. the central area that you see with 487 and 77 is probably the most heavily used by golden eagles seasonally. But this in the winter, and that's because of prairie dogs and ground squirrels, a lot of different prey that's available. But in the winter, those prey aren't available. So they typically hang around the foothills and stuff, which I think they're feeding probably on winter-killed ungulates. But again, there's a lot of basic information, and for me, the most important part of what I've seen being out in the field is that the Shirley Basin and Laramie Basin are maybe one of the most important areas, the focal areas for golden eagles in North America. We have a huge number of birds that go through there on a yearly basis. We have a large resident population, which is made up both of breeding birds on the peripheries of those areas and a non-breeding or floating population, which is there year round. It also serves as just a migration corridor that birds go through on their way to southern states and Mexico. And we also have a pretty good number of eagles, I suspect a good number of eagles that use Shirley Basin area for their winter range. And this is an example of that core migration path that the golden eagles follow from Alaska and Canada down to the United States and into the southern states. This is a very common path. This was a bird that I trapped last year. It was originally caught in Montana. It's an 18-year-old male. I recaptured it last February. It summered up in the Yukon and began its fall migration in September and arrived in Shirley Basin, where it still is right now, in 21 days. Pretty fast movement. This is another example. This bird was actually caught over near Saratoga, but it uses an area just east of Denali National Park. It's been doing this for 4 years now. Right now it's on its winter ground in western Raton, New Mexico. And it alternatively comes through Shirley Basin and then takes a little farther western step to get down there. So the other really important part of tagging golden eagles is that we have probably a better idea of what's going on with mortality. And unfortunately, there's a lot of birds that are missing. Something happens to the transmitter that we don't know, either collision or else it just fails. But we can differentiate when we get birds, and it's really important to get birds as quickly as possible once we find that the transmitter is static. So every bird that's tagged is sent to Georgia to be analyzed by necropsy to see what the cause of death was. And 2 satellite tagged eagles were actually killed by other eagles. So, which is not uncommon. One of the most common causes of mortality in the West is electrocution, which is a huge problem and not one that's going away anytime soon. One tagged eagle that I picked up last year was actually electrocuted on a pole that was retrofitted to protect eagles or protect raptors. And basically what happens with these is they don't retrofit those power poles typically until something happens and something gets killed there, and then they'll go fix it. But apparently this one wasn't fixed, so it's not foolproof. And the other thing I'd mentioned, I'm sorry, I don't have my notes. I can't see my note view from this, but the other thing I'd mentioned is that power lines are a necessary extension of any kind of development, not just wind. But anytime there's development, it increases the number of associated power lines and elevates additional risk. There are designs on power lines that are supposed to be followed to prevent eagle electrocutions. And for the most part, I think that's being done, but there's one brand new line that to me, it doesn't look like it's designed very well. And I'm sure it's going to start killing eagles. And of course, we have the occasional idiot that still shoots eagles. This has happened for 2 of our tagged birds. And then, of course, wind turbine strikes, which I'm going to talk about now. The one on the right was, I used to work for consulting company, and we did a lot of the base mortality surveys for several wind turbine sites. And this is one of the eagles that I found. The lady that's there pointing, that's the actual head of the bird that was decapitated. This other eagle was just one of my tag birds that was recently killed, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. The important part of this slide is that this is a brand new turbine setup, and the eagle was killed on June the 16th and wasn't recovered till June the 22nd. And it's problematic to me because people are driving by those roads all the time and nobody saw that or reported this bird. So people wonder why golden eagles get killed by wind turbines. They're really smart and they can be unbelievably wary. Yet disproportionately, they're killed more than probably most other birds. And nobody really understands that. My personal view is that they, of course, evolved as the toughest thing in the sky. And so nothing really scared them in the air except for other golden eagles. And in the 40s and 50s, that was used by southwestern wool growers as they found out about that, and they could actually fly an airplane, a small airplane, right up next to an eagle and shoot it, and they killed thousands. So that's the only thing I can explain. I have no idea why they really do, but they just don't seem to be afraid of wind turbines, which is problematic. So we do have birds that are missing. We have other birds that were killed that we didn't recover in time and couldn't get an accurate necropsy. But of the 19 eagles that we've tagged since 2014, only 3 of those were killed by natural causes, disease and other eagles, and 16 were killed by human causes: collision with a wire, lead poisoning, 2 from shooting, 4 from electrocutions, 4 from vehicle collisions. Roadkill deer in the winter is particularly bad. Eagles will feed on the roadkill deer and they get hit by vehicles. And then 4 wind turbine strikes. So this is one of my other recent tagged eagles that was killed by a wind turbine. And you can see it was captured. It was out over 3 years, but it was captured in an area real close to where it was killed by a turbine. There was also 2 other birds that I know of that were killed in this footprint. There's probably more.
Is that here? That looks like 7 miles or something.
That is exactly 7 miles. That's correct. And this is a more close-up picture of where that bird was recovered by the Game and Fish Department. The interesting or the terrible thing about it, I guess, however you want to look at it, is this bird was hit so hard it sheared a wing completely off and threw the bird way out of the radius of the turbine blades. And that bird likely would have never been recovered, never been found had it not been tagged, or if the tag was destroyed. So this brings me to the part that worries me the most. And Fish and Wildlife Service, the agency that I work for, has been undergoing a lot of change with what they're doing with management of eagles, both bald and goldens. But how are they dealing with golden eagles? How are they protecting them with wind and increasing wind? And how are they trying to steer wind development into places that aren't as sensitive as golden eagles, places that we have around here? And finally, they're required to look at cumulative impacts of wind farms on eagles. But I don't think in my opinion, they're doing a very good job of this at all. They developed an eagle conservation plan, and they've developed capabilities to model what they believe will be the reasonable level of take by a wind farm. And then they issue, the only mechanism they have now is to issue a take permit, an annual take permit, which they specify how many birds can reasonably be killed by that particular farm. But what it translates into is a single farm, like 7 Mile, can kill, I believe it's 230 something eagles over the course of its life. based on projections from both surveys and known kills from the past. But again, those the numbers of killed are undoubtedly higher. How much higher, I have no idea. Nobody does, but it could be significantly higher.
So in a 30-year lifespan of a wind farm, that would be 40 a year or something.
No, it's let me see, what was it for them? It was 7 a year. 7 point something.
Yeah, I'm doing the math. I apologize.
Yeah.
8 a year. Yeah.
7 point something. So, you know, and then you could expect the other ones that come online. The Fish and Wildlife Service just gives these permits after the fact. You know, they don't look at the risks up front and say, well, geez, you know, this is not a good place to put a wind farm. So they don't try to direct what can be done. They have no legal nexus, I assume, or else they don't. They used to, but they don't seem to want to enforce one anymore. But when it comes to federal public lands, they do have a stronger nexus. But I haven't seen a whole lot of evidence that they're trying to do much with that. This is a really important example and one that's just heartbreaking for me personally of how the Fish and Wildlife Service is really buffed up management of golden eagles. Service, and I remember them talking about doing surveys within a 10-mile radius, you know, with the idea that ostensibly that they would not allow projects within a reasonable area that would affect nesting pairs. Nesting pairs are considered to be really critical in terms of population stability. So this eagle was captured in November of 2016. He was, have been monitoring a little cluster of local nests for the last 5 years. This was the most successful one. They typically don't breed every year, but this one bred 4 out of 5 years, which is kind of unusual for here. And it was killed by a brand new wind turbine on June 16th. And one eaglet was in the nest at the time. It was fortunately an older eaglet. This is a picture that's a really, really old, well-established nest. And again, going back to this slide, the new regulations have been changed so that they used to require that survey for 10 miles. Now they require it for only 2 miles. And ostensibly, again, with the idea that wind turbines would be sited, you know, more than 2 miles, at least that's my understanding, from wind turbines. This one obviously is not. Nor are there others, particularly for proposed sites.
That's right out there in Medicine though too. That's Echola Flats or something.
Echola Flats. Yeah, that's correct.
It's Echola. I'm finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Echola. I learned
Yeah.
something.
It's weird. The Finnish language is weird.
So the wind power companies are trying to do it. They're very, you know, very concerned, and they're doing as good a job as they can on trying to protect eagles on site. They developed a couple of systems, these observation towers where they have that monitor and you know, they can actually from that tower can shut down single turbines or strings of turbines very quickly. And I've been out working on sites. This is when they've been doing that, and some of them have been really good. It's not foolproof by any means, and there's more hope now with the automatic camera systems, as I understand it, which are again technical, unbelievably technically smart devices that have an array of more wide view cameras in 360 degrees. And when they pick up something moving, this little camera that looks like ET can zoom in on it, and by different algorithms or whatever, they can actually identify whether it's a golden eagle, and they will shut down the cameras. And again, I understand that has been a lot more successful in recent years. So those are important things. Undoubtedly, they cost a tremendous amount of money. And I don't know how that translates out. But this is the heart of really what I wanted to discuss today. And again, going back to the Fish and Wildlife Service, their analysis of cumulative effects is really, really backwards looking. They track supposedly all this information to a point where they can identify cumulative effects, but at that point it's too late. You know, they're not going to be able to come in and stop or move any kind of wind projects, you know, nor should they if they've gotten to that point. So this is a map that I took from Blue Earth Renewables, and it shows the locations of the existing and proposed wind farms in Albany and County and Carbon counties, with the exception of the Rail Tie project. One of the ones that really scares me is this one that's up north, which is the proposed Maestro Project. Before I get off this slide, though, you'll see that these nests, there's a few nests on this northern part. Again, going back to the importance of Shirley Basin and Laramie Basin, these areas that are off a little bit to the north of where those nests are and off to the east, come down to the lands, are really, really significant golden eagle use areas. Migration, floaters, resident floaters, and overwintering birds. So the amount of use in that area is just spectacular. But let me just, the Maestro project, again, I don't have any idea really what's going on with planning of this. There's met stations all over the place. This is up on top of that Shirley Basin Rim and down below it and east of the 487. But it's a monstrous project. And it overlays probably one of the most important eagle use areas that I know of anywhere. What I heard early was that up to 1,000 turbines might be put in there. But again, the status of that is very much a mystery to me, but I can't help it. Every time I've seen that stations go up, it's almost always followed by an active wind power site.
So that's north of the old Shirley Ghost Town site.
Yes, I think so.
There's a Carbon County Road 2 that takes off to the east off of 487, a little bit north of that. And then
No, it's actually that, let me go back. You could, it's at the junction, it's right above that fork of 487 and 77.
oh, gotcha. So that's probably
It's all carbon.
Hewer. It's all Carbon County.
Yeah,
That's probably
Hewer's
Grant.
land, I think, is farther east. This is all BLM.
Oh, gotcha. Between the highway and Hewer, right there.
All those sections are BLM sections.
It's straight north of the Shirley Basin and TB Flats 1 substations
Yes.
by 5 miles or something.
Yeah.
8 miles.
You know where the Shirley Basin Reservoir is?
Yes.
Just north. Well, it actually surrounds that.
Gotcha.
And then up to the north.
Yeah.
And farther west, almost to where the Shirley Basin Road goes up the mountains, It's in that flat as well. It's enormous.
So it would be on both sides of the highway then?
Yeah.
The 487 would go.
And
through.
south of 77 as well. The footprint is there. Now, who knows what ultimately will come.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it's.
Because some of that, they won't want to build roads in, or they'll find there'd just be reasons why they wouldn't or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very worrisome to me. And this is, again, going back to the Blue Earth Renewables document, but it's just showing Lucky Star Wind and the Two Rivers projects. This map does show areas that are overlaid by other existing projects, particularly Dunlap and Cole Flats, Foot Creek, High Plains, Fadden Ridge, Medicine Bow, and 7 Mile and TB Flats, both of them in there. So, and these are nest sites. These are nest sites that I know about. And the proximity of these nest sites to these proposed wind projects is very, very troubling to me. What happens is if we start losing breeding pairs, and it creates a sink. creates a nesting because those birds are so tied to nesting territories. A friend of mine who worked for years on the Altamont Pass project on golden eagles there said that adults that would get killed would be replaced, only to have those adults get killed, in a short period of time typically. So that is a worry for here. I mean, we can see our resident population of golden eagles pretty heavily impacted by these new wind projects. So I just threw in this slide. I'm also working on a bald eagle study in Colorado, which is something of a nightmare, but bald eagles are incredibly adaptable and they tolerate human disturbance like nothing I've ever seen. So they're removed from the endangered species list, and now there's an estimated 317,000 birds and 71,000 pairs. Conversely, golden eagles, there's the estimate of about 40,000 birds between Alaska and the conterminous United States. And many biologists, including myself, believe they're declining, especially on local areas. Some places, I mean, they're really stable in a lot of places, but some places they're not at all. And climate change is impacting the golden eagle populations pretty substantially. So just to kind of sum it up, impacts on golden eagles are with any kind of expanding development are going to increase exponentially with the number of projects that are going in. That's just a fact. What happens is that these new facilities are going to go in areas that are largely undisturbed right now. They're filling in the gaps of eagle habitat. So there will be pretty much a big continuum of turbines from the top of Shirley Basin all the way through Carbon and Albany, this part of Carbon and Albany County. And it's an additive impact. There's a lot of things that are already going on. It's a tough world out there, as I mentioned, for eagles, and they're being impacted by a lot of human activities pretty dramatically. And expect that if we continue to accelerate a lot of these stuff, that we're going to have a population sink for sure. And likewise, the impacts will not only be for golden eagles, but there'll be exponential impacts for other birds and bats and things like sage grouse, which there's a part of that area, particularly up north, overlays a sage grouse core area, and a lot of it overlays one of our most successful black-footed parrot reintroduction sites in North America, the Shirley Basin, which they've expanded a lot farther south. And of course, big game and migration and use areas. So, why are we accepting the risks for that? The one thing that, if you're doing other types of energy extraction for coal and oil and gas, you have to go where the deposits are underground. But wind is more ubiquitous across the America. And this is a wind resource map that shows average wind speeds at 100 meters, which most of the turbines now, I think, are 210 feet or something, extend into that 100 meters. 210 feet hub, but the blades extend into 100 meters. But as you can see, there's a lot of room for wind expansion, and most of the actual expansion that's going on in the country today is in the Great Plains all the way down into Texas. So it makes little sense to me that we trade off really important resources when we could put wind turbines in broken lands to the east. These natural habitats that are here are just so valuable to Wyoming residents and the wildlife that it's not a fair trade-off, in my opinion. And one of the things that was really depressing, I've been going through all the Fish and Wildlife. I haven't been up to date on Fish and Wildlife Service policies and procedures and their guidance until just the last few days, and it's really depressing to me to see how they're addressing these issues. And it appears to me that everybody's kicking the ball down the road, and that you folks may be the ones that have the jurisdiction that might best protect these species. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in what's going on with agencies. But this is to me, is a really, really critical issue that's going to affect our lives here in this part of Wyoming pretty significantly, I think. So, any questions?
Commissioner Rivera, any questions?
First of all, thank you. This is a great presentation.
I'm sorry?
I said, thank you for this presentation.
Sure.
Quite eye-opening. What would you suggest as some mitigation steps and measures if wind projects are to be considered? What can we ask of these companies putting up that would make a significant difference?
Don't put them anywhere close to Eagle Nest. The 2 mile guidance is not adequate. 3 miles, the 10 miles is way too extreme. The Fish and Wildlife Service really originally had. But 2 miles is a little too short. Home ranges will overlay that. 3 miles is better. One of the things that Fish and Wildlife Service is requiring for all these is compensatory mitigation is to go back and retrofit problem power lines. I have a little problem with that because, you know, the power lines they're causing the problem. They should be fixed. You know, they shouldn't be looked at as that part of the mitigation to authorize another project. So to me, it's just kind of this vicious circle of developing things and killing more than retrofitting them to justify a project. Short of that, I don't know. You know, there was talk about in some places of controlling prey to minimize eagles' use of the areas, but that defeats the purpose of the value of these areas that they're so important for a lot of wildlife, and particularly prairie dogs. Prairie dogs are just an incredible resource for a huge number of wildlife. You know, all the way down to reptiles and insects. But so I definitely wouldn't want to see anything like that. I'd like to see them moved into agricultural lands in the eastern part of the state, but of course that's just me. And unfortunately, I've been way behind the 8 ball on this stuff. I had no idea that, how'd you say it? Echolin was even going in until I was out there trying to retrap that bird and take his transmitter off. We decided we'd leave it on. I'm glad we did. I'm not glad at the outcome. But, you know, I've been busy working in the field and not seeing all this stuff sneaking up, and it's just amazing how fast things are developing in terms of wind power in this part of the state.
So Mike, you haven't been directly contacted by any wind project company?
Well, I've worked on wind. I do have gotten permission through Fish and Wildlife Service to trap on their lands in the past. No, but I've been working with Pacific Corps quite a bit. And the great people, you know, some of the people that are there are trying to do the right thing. And, you know, I had one, I won't name the name of the project, but I had one environmental manager back east that said, we put this project up in the wrong place. We should have never been there. And it was just up north. They were killing tons of eagles. But I think that a large part of what's happened is a lot of the environmental baseline stuff is not very good, to tell you the truth. And I was certainly part of it, but I've seen some of it. And it seems like some of the consulting stuff has been kind of a vicious circle too, justifying, you know, billable hours just to keep things going, in my opinion. So I don't know. To me, the best mitigation is siting, moving them away from sensitive areas. Anything else?
Thank you. Mr. Ritson, anything?
Yeah, I have some questions. So the map that you showed us was there was one that it was like a track map. You don't have to go back. But it basically, it was favoring the high ground around there. And then I think you explained that it was a kind of a wintertime thing.
Yeah.
Because all the little critters go hide in the ground, right?
That's a really important.
So this that map would look completely different in the
It
summertime.
does. I have a
So
large.
what's interesting about that to me is that there are like rock outcroppings and there's, a lot of that's got tall sagebrush, it's flat, but that's where the hunting is.
Exactly.
So maybe
Certain times a year.
maybe they would tend to nest on little ridges that have the scrub pines on them or
Exactly.
rock outcroppings or whatever, but in general.
Right.
So they might tend to nest in these kind of areas where.
Along the foothills here.
And there's
here,
actually
and here.
some places out like that nest on the Ecola project. There's one little ridge of scrub going through there that, so this bird doesn't show that. It would be more like straight west of Medicine Bow or a little bit northwest of Medicine Bow
No,
outside
this
of
is an
town.
individual eagle.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, this bird is a non-breeder, so he moves all over the place.
So I'm sort of trying to make a picture in my mind of what the nesting places look like
Well,
versus
I should have.
the traffic places where they go hang out and work all day long.
I should have identified, I should have put, I have some screenshots and I didn't put it in there. The nests are really compact. Those birds are on territory year long and they've been in year long.
Hmm.
So they don't move.
Right.
Those little red circles that you saw with the nests, there's a very small area around those nests, several many.
They're not gonna let any other,
They don't let
eagle
any
in
other
there.
eagles out. They don't leave it. They almost never leave it.
so what I'm seeing when I look at this map is probably kind of favorable nesting territory, but this isn't hunting territory per se.
That bird is probably, I would guess, is probably feeding on winter-killed ungulates,
Right.
which is a large part of their
They
winter.
get caught in the deep snow or on some spot they can't get out of.
Right. But yeah, that's, December 8th to December 30th.
Because where the footprint of where the farms are is sort of all around that, except it's down in the flatland where from Eagle Eyes, you could.
Well, this is where that Maestro Project is.
Yeah.
TV Flats is right here,
Yep.
1 and 2,
And then Dunlap,
Dunlap,
and
yeah,
Ecola straight west over there.
Ecola, and then Ecola, and then
7 Mile is on,
7 Mile right.
yeah,
And
on
then-
that ridge that's right at the south edge of that
Right.
great area.
Right. Yep. So, but that is the really important part of what you just captured is that area, the whole area is really important to eagles, but it's a seasonal.
Well, there's no way to take away enough prey to run eagles off. There's so many rodents and critters out there. Like the notion that you could diminish the amount of prey to make the eagles go somewhere else, that's not possible.
Well, no, and actually, when you start cutting in any kind of underground cable or any land disturbance, prairie dogs follow that disturbed land.
Because
So
it digs
actually-
easier. Yeah.
It actually enhances their distribution. So-
Yeah.
so-
So the ranchers like the eagles because they get rid of those critters.
Yep. Yep.
They eat and eat and eat them.
Yep.
And that saves the forage for the cows. Because those little buggers can eat a lot of grass.
Blacktails more so than whitetails, which whitetails are up here. But yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
They're not generally, either species is not generally liked by agriculture.
Well, and they make holes that animals get injured in.
Anyway, I'd be happy to answer you. You have my number and stuff if you have questions or anything.
Well, I've got a couple, Mike,
Okay.
for you. Is there inventory of nesting sites that you would feel fairly confident about, or is it just we run across one and we add it to the list? What's your thoughts about it? Do you know about 50% of the nests? Do you know?
In that area, I
Yeah.
know probably most of them.
Okay,
But there are areas out there that are private land that I don't.
right.
I suspect they're nests. Like you saw that where I had circled where I've seen pairs. When you see an adult pair, there's a pretty good shot that there's a nest somewhere in there. And that is an area that has suitable habitat. I just haven't been there on the ground. A long time ago, Game and Fish did a pretty intensive raptor survey of this whole southern area from a lot of the state. And that database is probably available. But I haven't seen it for a long time, and I don't even know how to access it. I helped them on part of that doing the aerial survey stuff, but that was a long time ago.
Burying tower lines underground, is that it? That seems to be a useful strategy.
Oh gosh, yeah, in terms of, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's really expensive. There's some, I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but certainly burying them in terms, rather than having an overhead, even for just collisions, even if they don't electrocute. There's a lot more wire collisions. I found other species like hawks and long-eared owls, if you find them under power lines, you go, what the heck? Because it's not close to a pole. It's frightening wires, particularly those grounding bars that are low.
I know there was a push a couple of years ago, maybe that's still extending, to put visual identifiers on wire for fences, right, for sage grouse. Does that have any efficacy
Yes.
for birds of prey?
It probably does. Yeah, I don't know for sure. I don't know if it's ever been tested. It definitely has for sage,
Yeah.
what I understand.
Right.
But I don't know about raptors, but I believe it probably would.
And I'm interested with the automatic camera systems. Do you know much about them at all, other than?
Not really. I was up there working on top of the world when they were first testing those and installing them. And I don't know a whole lot about them. But from what I understand, they're really good. They also, from what I understand, really, really expensive. So, those cost benefits, that was a project that was up and running, and then discovered they had a data problem. So they're going back to try to do it, but up front, planning it that part in as part of the project might be something that I don't know. I don't know if that cost is overwhelming or not.
Okay. And we're contemplating the Rock Creek Wind Energy Project. And you had talked about the Maestro Project as being something that was incredibly concerning to you. Rock Creek, is Rock Creek as concerning to you, or is it concerning but not to the level that Maestro is?
Oh God, no, not anywhere close. But to me, any additive thing is that it's going to be an additive impact for sure. There's no way to get around it. But no, I don't know of any nests around there. I don't really think there are any. And I don't, I know they're having impacts on high plains, which it butts up to, and I actually see a lot of eagles in that area. So they'll have impacts, they'll have collisions, they'll kill birds for sure. But in comparison with Maestro, no, there's no comparison.
Of the 40,000 presumed eagles, golden eagles in North America left, how many are served by that area, would you reckon?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
Could be hazard guess.
Okay.
But again, if you look at the focal area of the migration corridor along the eastern side of the Rockies, lots and lots, hundreds, thousands of birds probably move through there. And stay, some of them stay. And then hundreds and hundreds of resident, probably non-breeding residents occupy that area as well.
My final question, kind of a nerd out here, sorry, but what is the difference between a breeding and a non-breeding eagle? Are they territorial so that the breeding eagles have that territory and everything else is
The
not?
territorial birds, I mean, that's the reason we have those get killed by other eagles. They go through a space where they're being defended by it. And typically it's male on male and female on female. But yeah, those are very heavily defended by the adults. And a lot of times it'll keep other birds out. These birds gotta eat and they're migrating, so they're going over territories. And you'll see eagles right within a known territory. But they are still defended.
And of the kills you've seen, are they near nesting sites?
I'm sorry?
The kills that you've seen of golden eagles that you would attribute to wind turbines?
Uh-huh.
Are they near nesting sites or does it
Well, that
it's
one
just
was.
random?
That one on Ecola Flats, yeah, that was personally, like I said, I was actually out there trying to catch it, take the transmitter off because it was an old one. You can almost never recapture it, they're too smart. But that's when I saw Ecola going up and I talked to our project leaders about it. We all decided just to keep it on because we had good impact data on that bird. And now we have some post-impact, which is big impact on that bird. So I was really mad about that one. You know, my contacts with Fish and Wildlife Service, I was pretty strongly angry at them. So.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Mike, I really do appreciate
Oh.
your time and expertise.
I sort of want to nerd out with Pete. The breeding ones are the ones that are nesting in that space, and the non-breeding ones are just the migratory ones.
Yeah, and you can have.
But that is to say that the migratory ones might be headed somewhere to their preferred breeding site.
Oh, yeah, I have one that uses the winter in Shirley Basin that nests at Fish Lake up by Whitehorse.
Yeah.
And this is like 3 years in a row it's been going.
So they move around, but they sort of have their home territory. And so the distinction between breeding and non-breeding is basically
Well,
home and foreign, or domestic and foreign in that sense. Somebody on their way.
the non-breeders that are way north, they can't stay way north in the winter.
Right.
There's nothing to eat, so they're here in the winter. But they'll go back up there and occupy areas like ours do here. During the summer months, they just don't breed. But we have a big floating population. And typically what happens is when a bird gets killed, like this male did, hopefully it'll be replaced. The one that was killed 2 years ago that had a tag on it by another eagle wasn't replaced that spring, but it's now replaced. I see a male with that female now.
So it's almost like if they live somewhere that's so inhospitable that they have to go travel for a while, they get to be snowbirds. They wind up in somebody else's territory, and then they have to eat, but they have to defend themselves and try to make their way through.
A lot of areas that are in between those nesting territories, like all the Shirley Basin, that's open.
Mhm.
They don't have to worry about it. And I was going to mention that some of the
Sure, because the bottomland in Shirley Basin, you can't nest in, but you can hunt in. So it's like a big giant fish barrel for them.
It's a huge area for eagle use in the spring and summer.
Gotcha.
Huge. But you will have even paired adults on winter runs where there's no nesting habitat, and they're local. They don't migrate. There was one out at a pair at Hutton Lake for years and years and years. They occupied the same thing. They were always together, but there was no place for them to nest. But they treated it like a territory. I don't think they defended it. They acted like a mated pair.
That's interesting.
It was really interesting.
So why do golden eagles favor the sort of the leeward side of the Rockies? What is it that's special about that from Mexico to the Yukon, they all are there?
Just mostly the migration conditions of the winds. They'll soar and they'll get way high and they'll set their wings and make it just go 70, 80 miles, really long glide. But the winds typically upslope off some of those hills, the mountains.
So when they're right on the leeward side, they're catching that upslope and
and it may be coming from the west too. I mean, a lot of the winds are westerly out here.
Oh, well, I was thinking that they were riding the west winds that are popping up over the top. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's where they're at the apex before they start down again.
Like all those birds that are migrating, it's a great place for them to travel on, but they need to stop over every once in a while and eat. So the plains that are off there is probably for better for them.
There's food underneath, and so it's like sailing. You get to set your sail and go.
Yep.
So one other thing that I was thinking of is, we have a discussion about the place that is sort of south central Wyoming. But how does this compare to other places, or how do turbines kills compare to like highway kills, you know?
Highway kills are much worse in some places like I-70 west of Grand Junction and into Utah. There's a lot of highway kills for some reason on that area. And it's mostly because the prey is getting hit on the road.
So they
I
go
can't
down.
really answer that. I think wind turbines are, in terms of the amount of kills, it's becoming exponentially larger as the number of them increase for sure. Particularly the ones in the west. I mean, the ones that are located, in Wyoming and actually in Colorado, there's some that are a little farther east that probably aren't as bad. But any of the ones that are located within this migration corridor really problematic.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, I don't know how the value to humanity wind turbines compares to the value to humanity that highways have. But you hear lots of discussion about turbines and, there's not like stoplights out on the highway where there's a radar saying, okay, you guys have to stop because they're, because we're, do you know what I'm saying? There's a sort of a disproportionate treatment, and
Well, one of the mitigation things that they are doing, I mean, they are putting the highways, I-70 actually has watch for eagles on the road signs, or used to. I don't know if they still do. But one of the other mitigation things is they're talking about driving up and down the roads and hauling off putting the carcasses off the roads.
sure that
That's a big, every time I drive past something that's dead, I get it off the road. So, yeah, that's a big one. But yeah, I mean, I think electrocutions and road collisions are probably the worst right now. The turbines are going to come up, as in terms. And Altamont Pass has killed thousands and thousands and thousands of eagles over its history. But it's got 5,000 turbines, and it's right on the top of the migration corridor.
yeah. And then turbine designs change over time, right? So
They
like
do, and supposedly
those old ones on Foot Creek, man, they turned really fast.
they did, yeah.
And I don't know if the newer ones that turn at a half or a third of the speed are easier for a bird to avoid. I don't know if there's enough data out there on it.
I don't think there is. I don't know for sure, but the two that I had recently killed were killed on the bigger turbines. So the 1.8, I guess they are, but the bigger ones anyway. So again, it's not foolproof for sure.
Mark, I have one other question. The little eaglets, once they're grown and have left the nest, do they stay in the area, or do they go find their own places to be, or do they?
There's a lot of fidelity to the natal areas. Some of the ones from New Mexico come up here in the summer and then go back. And some of ours do too, I think, migrate around, but there's still a lot of fidelity. So I can't answer that very well, but it's been surprising. Bald eagles are doing the same thing. They're actually move a lot more than bald ones. And one that I trapped south of Fort Collins that ended up almost up in polar bear country in Alaska this year. Now it's back. So,
It's interesting. I see lots of bald eagles around. And when I was a kid, I never used to see them.
that's because they weren't here. I was working for the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Out by Rock River and on the Rock Creek drainage. Holy smokes, there's a bunch of them. And they're cool to see. They're neat. I was always curious. So now I'm curious what you know about them, and you sort of were answering questions about the difference, because you don't hear about bald eagles being struck by turbines maybe the same.
They do, but not
Sure.
as much as golden. Not nearly as much. But bald eagles, the population has just exploded, to tell you the truth. I worked for Fish and Wildlife Service in Sheridan from 75 to 81. In 1978 or 79, the first bald eagle nest known in Wyoming outside of the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem was over in Saratoga, one nest. And now they're everywhere.
Right.
Same thing in Colorado, the whole front range of Colorado is just saturated with bald eagles.
So do bald eagles, does their proliferation negatively affect golden eagles? I mean, is there some cross competition there in
Yes,
terms of?
it's for nests, but it's usually when golden eagle nests are lost by the pairs, for whatever reason. When it was killed or something like that, or they abandoned the site, then a bald will take it, and their breeding phenology is earlier, so once they get in there, they're hard to displace. Golden eagles are way dominant over balds.
No, in terms of finding prey or,
Goldens will take it away from balds. That lure bird that I put out is part of her purpose is attracting other ones, but it's keeping sneaking bald eagles off the baits too. They'll come down and walk around, get a little look at it. They rarely ever come over to people.
gotcha.
Mike, so informative. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it, and we'll get your contact to these guys if they don't already have it, and if they have any more questions, we'll send them your way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Circles, I thank you for inviting me.
Good. Item 10 is now been removed, so we'll go to 11. Present for approval memorandum of understanding between the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Cheyenne Board of Public Utilities, Albany County Commissioners, Carbon County Commissioners, Little Snake River Conservation District, Laramie Rivers Conservation District, Medicine Bow Conservation District, Saratoga Encampment Rollins Conservation District, Bureau of Land Management, and State of Wyoming and the USDA Forest Service, Medicine Bow National Forest, and Thunder Basin National Grassland for the purpose of documenting the cooperation between the parties to provide for a working relationship during the implementation of the Medicine Bow National Forest Landscape Vegetation Analysis Project. Whew. So we're just signing on to the lava project. To have a seat at the table with those discussions is essentially it. So any questions? And I guess I can't answer them, but maybe Jennifer, you could. I don't know. It was in the packet.
And Jennifer, if you chose not to, it would mean that you don't have any input into the
Correct,
project or any information.
correct. This means that, like Chairman Gosar said, that we have that seat at the table and we're in that flow of information.
I entertain a motion for item 11, please.
I move that we approve item 11 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 12, present for approval agreement between Albany County and Eagle View Tube Optometry flights in fall of 2022 and fall of 2026. The amount of $809,879.52 to be paid from ARPA funds. Chelsea, are you with us? There you
I
are.
am.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Doing well. Could you tell us a little bit about this stuff and what we're getting?
Yes. So this is the agreement between Eagle View and Albany County. So with this agreement, we will get 2 flights. The first one being in the fall of 2026, and the last one being the first one being in fall of 2022, and the last one being in the fall of 2026. With both flights, we will get the entire county flown with the 360 oblique view. The resolution for the city, Centennial and Rock River, will be 3 inches. And then part of the county will be flown at 6 inches, and then majority of the county will be flown at 9. So with this, we will get, I believe it's 125 licenses, so that we can share this with multiple departments throughout the county and the city. So, and that's more than enough. So whoever would like to log on and use this imagery, they are more than welcome to do that. This contract also includes training. So representatives from Eagle View will come and train new users on how to use it, use all the tools that come with it, and things of that nature. It also will come with a program called Change Finder. And so this is where it will compare the new imagery with old imagery so that our office can see any buildings that have new construction, demolitions, or even like additions and things of that nature. It'll flag those accounts for us. So then we can just go in and make those changes from our desktops.
Thanks, Chelsea. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, one, Chelsea, how come it came in as a discount?
It
Why
can
didn't
be.
it get discounted?
So we were able to get, even though we don't have the contract signed by the end of 2021, they were able to give us the discounts that I was referring to earlier in the year. With the caveat, I have to have this contract in by tomorrow. So,
Okay,
and when you sign, if you don't mind, if you can backdate it for a date in December. Those are the two caveats for us to get this price.
Chelsea, will they host this data, or will we host the data for the flights? And they'll just have a link. If they host it, will they have a link on our website? How will people access this stuff? Do you have any idea?
Yes, so they actually, they will give us a drive that we can download it. And we've actually, with the previous data that we've had from previous flights, we've actually been able to give that data like to the city so they can download it themselves, and then they host the data. There is also a way for you to sign in and just log in, so you can access it through, I don't know how it works, virtually. So.
And my last question, emergency medical services, would they be able to access this data from their car or their truck, or would they have to download it first on the way out? Do you have any idea? You don't have to know that answer.
They would have either option. So if they wanted to download it and have it on their vehicles in their cars, they would have to have the space and the capacity to do that. If they wanted to log in and access it that way, they could do that, but they would have to have access to the internet.
Okay. Cool. Any other questions, commissioners? I'd entertain a motion for item 12, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agreement between Albany County and Eagle View for 2 pictometry flights. One in the fall of 2022 and one in the fall of 2026 in the amount of $809,879.52 to be paid from ARPA funds.
second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I'm gonna put a full cup of coffee out on my railing and an empty one. And I'm gonna go check the imagery and see if I can tell which one's full and which one's empty.
Oh, wow.
No, seriously, when you think about the resolution, it's insane.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13, present for ratification, request for proposals for professional services to aid Albany County and the city of Laramie with the completion of a joint growth area management plan and regulations. David, thank you.
Yeah, so we're just asking for your ratification for the RFP that's been published for the joint growth area management plan. The committee that was put together to reviewed it. County Attorney's office has reviewed it. So just pretty much your ratification is.
Commissioners, any questions for David? I'd entertain a motion for item 13 then.
Oh, I had one question.
Okay.
And that is, on the timeline, it's like, I don't know, like 2 weeks between when we publish for the last time. There's a publishing period and we're in it. And then there's a really short time period for people to respond to the RFP, like maybe January 21 or something. I'm trying to remember. It seems like that would be hard to see an RFP out in the ether and mobilize to respond to it in 2 weeks. I mean, I'm not in that business, but and then after that, it seems like the sort of laid out time schedule made sense to me and was doable, but the space between the publishing of the RFP and the response, you know, when the responses have to be in, seems to me like really compressed, and I wasn't sure why we were inclined to make it that compressed.
It's typically, I mean, it's a typical process, 2 to 3 weeks for an RFP. You know, what the information that we're asking for, we're not asking them to write the plan or anything, we're just asking for their qualifications.
Right.
And they have a lot of these companies have the template stuff, like the resumes, they just put in. But yeah, I mean, I agree, it's pretty quick.
But to me, the distinction that I'm making is that there's an RFQ process, which is different than an RFP process.
Sure.
Like if you pre-qualify yourself and your expertise or your company, that's different. Like this is a request for proposals, and I don't know how somebody would be able to assemble their proposal like that in that period of time.
Yeah, so I mean, it was advertised first on the 29th. So they've got a good 3 weeks to do this. Yeah, like I said, this is typical. This is just the time frame we usually do.
It's the world we live in.
So
I move that we approve item 13 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
9.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. David, thank you for shepherding this. The CAP project and this are long overdue, and I really do appreciate them being run mirrorly. That's a word I just made up, I guess. So that the growth plan could use the work of the CAP project, and maybe the CAP can also use the growth plan. And I think those make a lot of sense. So thank you.
yeah.
Item 14, present for consideration renewal of the 2021 mobile home park license for Chaparral Mobile Home Park. Joe.
All right, well, I think you pretty well said it. I think this is the final mobile home park that we have to get licensed, so Chaparral Mobile Home Park. There you go.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, where is this?
South of town.
South of town?
Yeah.
Can you be a little bit more?
Gosh, I don't have the exact address.
No, but south of town, how far south?
Chaparral.
Yeah, it's on Chaparral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I believe it's south of where the conservation district is, on that road right along there. So just down a little bit farther south.
And, you know, I gotta tell you, doing a 2021 renewal in 2022 is not ideal for me.
I agree.
In fact, I find it hard for me to say yes, quite honestly. And so if there is a way that we can develop a timeline, and if people are not in compliance with that timeline, have some way to warn them and then assess penalties. I think that's a useful strategy. I think this being 2022, and this should have been done this time last year if I was the Chaparral manager. So that's just my pontification today, but I entertain a motion for item 14, please.
I move that we approve item 14.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 15, present for approval, resolution 2022-001. Resolution approving the official holidays for the employees of Albany County for the year 2022 and setting business hours for certain Albany County offices. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present Resolution 2022-001 for your consideration. This resolution mirrors almost everything that's within the policy manual that we currently have. The only change now is Juneteenth, which has become a holiday that was signed into law by President Biden for your consideration.
Commissioners, any questions? Entertain a motion for item 15, please.
I move that we approve the resolution 2022-001, resolution approving the official holidays for employees of Albany County in the year 2022 for certain Albany County offices.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Jackie, for that.
Thank you.
16, request permission to close the county clerk's office to all business except the recording of documents on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, to allow for the new title program conversion and training with Tyler Technologies to be implemented. Jackie, again, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, my office is diligently working and reviewing the conversion from TaxWise to DocuPro for our title program. Our timeline was set so that we could go live on Tuesday, January 18th, because it will require CSA working directly with most of my employees in my office. I'm requesting permission to close my office to the public, except for the recording of documents on that particular day, to allow us to work collectively in getting this conversion completed. In the event that the go-to live date is not January 18th, I would like permission, if approved by the Board of County Commissioners, to change that date with sufficient notice to the general public by posting information not only on the website, but sending notices to the title companies, the banks, the dealers, those individuals that we work on a general, or that we work with generally on a day-to-day basis, so that everybody is well aware.
Commissioners, any questions? Jackie, would that date, if it wasn't the 18th, be in that week, do you assume?
We have sent an email to the individual that we're working with, and I was hoping to have a response by now. I know with their time frame, that was the date that was set by them. We are looking at data that goes back to the early 1990s, if not before, with all of our titles, and we have over, gosh, how many transactions?
97,000 titles.
Title transactions that we're trying to do a spot check with. We have found some errors in the conversion so far that they are correcting. And so our hope and our goal is to do the conversion on the 18th, but I won't have any specifics. Our due diligence is due by close of business today to meet their timeline, and with the staff doing the research and finding some errors. My gut says that no, probably 18th. The 18th is not a go-to date, but then I'm not on the other end doing all of the changes to these errors that we're finding.
All right, thank you, Jackie. Commissioners, anything else? I'd entertain a motion for item 16.
I move that we approve the request to close the county clerk's office to all business except the recording documents on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, to allow for the new title program conversion and training the Tyler Technologies to be implemented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign, please.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jackie. 17 was removed today, so we'll move to 18. Present for approval, juvenile court supervised treatment amendment 1 in the amount of $130,601.24 between the Wyoming Department of Health, Behavioral Health Division, and Albany County to provide substance abuse treatment services as a sentencing alternative in accordance with the Court Supervised Treatment Programs Act, Wyoming State Statute 7-13-1601 through Wyoming Statute 7-13-1615 from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Rebecca, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. This is just an amendment to a previous grant funded amount. We got more money, yay. And our intention is to use that for quality of life funds for our juvenile participants and their families to help them get access to educational programs, stable housing, whatever it is that they need.
Commissioners, any questions? Do you work with the school district, or would you work with the school district for these quality of life funds?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
We've delivered huge packages of Gatorade and snacks and school supplies and whatever else the kids might need to be successful in school as part of our program.
Do they communicate with you like what the need might be?
Absolutely. Yeah, and they come actually meet with us every Tuesday. They're part of our pre-court meetings.
Super. Thank you.
And Rebecca, part of this is like gas cards in order to get the transportation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we expect a lot out of our parents in terms of participation of their juveniles. So we can give them gas cards, we can help with groceries, whatever it is that they need to be successful. That's what this money is largely directed at.
Entertain a motion for item 18, please.
I move that we approve item 18 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign, please. That motion carries. Thank you, Rebecca. You're going to be here a little bit. So present for approval, item 19, present for approval, court supervised treatment amendment 1 in the amount of $204,851.37 between the Wyoming Department of Health, Behavioral Health Division, and Albany County to provide substance abuse treatment services as a sentencing alternative in accordance with the Court Supervised Treatment Program Act, Wyoming State Statute 7-13-1601 through Wyoming State Statute 7-13-1615 from July 1st, 2021 through June 30, 2022.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
This is the same thing, but for our adult program, and the funds are largely directed the same way. The difference with adults is it's not necessarily school supplies, but we do access to educational programming if they need, winter gear or their tires replaced on their car so that they can get to court and get to work, and all of the things that we require of them. We can help them access those necessary supplies and things that they need.
Commissioners, any questions? Entertain a motion for item 19, please.
I move that we approve item 19 as presented,
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
unless you want me to read all that.
Yep. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries, please. Item 20, discuss stories from drug court members. Rebecca, awesome. I was looking forward to this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first appreciate your invitation to be here. I'm thrilled to talk to you guys about drug court. And I don't know why I never thought to ask you if I could just come do this. So yeah, thank you for having me. I, as you might know, worked in domestic violence for about 12 years before I took this position. And I never thought that I would find something so fulfilling and rewarding. And I have. This has been just profound, just a really unique experience. And part of that is because, on the criminal justice side of things, you see all the arrests and the news stories and the icky things that are happening in our community and county. And in drug court every day, we get to see the other side of that. So we have individuals come in who voluntarily subject themselves to an enormously rigorous set of behavioral expectations. The people who come into our program, we're targeting high criminogenic thinking, high criminal risk, and high substance abuse treatment needs. So we're basically looking for people whose lives have been destroyed by addiction and who, as a result, are involved with the criminal justice system. So really broken people, to put it bluntly. And what I see when I go into the detention center over here to interview people is oftentimes people will refuse entry to our program because it's actually easier for them to stay in prison or to face a trial than it is to successfully complete our program. So it's not an easy way out of prison time or other sentencing requirements. It's actually the highest level of supervised probation that a person can be on. So when a person comes into our program, they are volunteering for a total loss of privacy. Random home searches, multiple treatment modalities, weekly check-ins with their case manager, random and frequent UAs. I mean, their privacy is essentially destroyed, and we are in every area of their life. So I say that just because I think it is a huge testimony to the individuals who come into our program and are willing to submit themselves to that in order to get better. These are people who are truly willing to do anything it takes to get better and to restore their lives. And we get to be part of that. And, it's just amazing. So as recently, just for some contextual information, I know Commissioner Glossar, you were asking about recidivism and how drug courts benefit communities. As recently as August 2021, the NIJ, the National Institute for Justice, wrapped up a 10-year really intensive study of drug courts in multiple areas and their cohorts. So people who graduated, they followed them for 5 years to see where their recidivism was, you know, how they were doing in their life, how they reused or reoffended. The study, the findings speak to the enormous impact that drug court models are having across the country. The NIJ's multi-site adult drug court evaluation found that programs significantly reduced drug use and criminal recidivism, both during and after program participation. Compared to traditional case processing and supervision, so just probation without any other real supports. Drug courts have higher investment costs upfront. We're expensive because we apply a lot of treatment. We have multiple treatment modalities and support persons who come up under the people in our program. So it's expensive on the front end, but on the back end, with less recidivism, less drug use, less criminal activity, communities are saving money. This particular study, like I said, was a 10-year multi-site study, and they found drug courts saved their communities an average of $5,680 to $6,208 per individual. That's a huge amount of cost savings to the community. In Laramie, like I said, I've been here for 7 months now, and I've seen multiple graduations, multiple people change their lives. It's just profound, really. We come up with our participants, like I just explained, in our funding, and I've really tried to shift a lot of our grant funding to quality of life dollars, where we're removing barriers for people. We meet with them and we partner with them and figure out what they need to be successful, rather than laying out a whole bunch of expectations that they can't meet in their current condition. So we do everything from host sober activities in the community so that people can learn how to be sober and interact with each other in the community, to safety planning, to food when it's necessary, car repairs, educational dollars. You know, we've had 5 participants in this last year gain entry into educational programs. And these are people who are coming out of prison. So this is a really huge accomplishment for them. We have a peer specialist who I'm going to introduce in just a minute, who's a recovered addict who successfully graduated our program, who then works really closely with other incoming addicts because she knows and understands their struggle. And so we have that support as part of our grant funding for her to be able to work really intensely with people to help them understand, okay, first step, second step, here's how you function in a sober lifestyle. We have a law enforcement officer on our program who's arrested a lot of the individuals who come in, and by the time they graduate, they have a personal relationship. In my time with the program, I've seen several participants who have actually called for that officer's assistance if people who are using come around them. Our participants can call us and our officer will swing by there with no warning, no notice, and drag people away from, people who are trying to recover. He can take his drug dog in when people come out of treatment and go through the house to ensure that there's nothing that's going to surprise people. It's an incredibly comprehensive program. If it's okay with you, I've changed names, so nothing is identifying. I'd like to share a few stories with you that I've seen during my time. Okay.
Please do.
Okay. So Jack was sentenced into drug court after a second DUI and multiple smaller infractions. His alcoholism not only led to the 2 DUIs, it destroyed his life, all of his family relationships. It caused him to be expelled from college, which was a really important part of his life. When he came to us, by his own admission, he just didn't want to go to prison. He was just trying to avoid that. There was not really an interest in any level of recovery. Despite that, he took advantages of the program supports, our peer specialists namely, but all of the offerings of the program. Fast forward to today, he has over 15 months of continuous sobriety, restored relationships with his family. After he progressed through the first 3 phases of the program successfully, the drug court team partnered with him so our case manager can write letters of good standing and advocate for people in the community. She did that. He was accepted back into college after having been expelled. He finished his first semester very recently with a 4.0 GPA and is starting grad school in 2022. He is right now in Italy traveling abroad at the request of one of his teachers. His life has just completely done a 180. Another client, Susan, came to us with a possession charge and underlying jail time. Her jail time really wasn't that long, But she decided to go ahead and come to us and see if it could help her. She had been an IV drug user since she was a young teen, heroin and methamphetamine by IV. So really severe addiction. She had no place to go, didn't have any safe friends, didn't have a job. Addiction had been the only thing she knew for the last 14 years before she came into our program. Today, she has beat all the odds. She's had some very devastating losses of family members in her time in our program, and rather than going back to using a needle, she stayed clean. She calls us, she relies on us. When she's had these devastating losses, rather than going back to what she knew, she called our case manager and asked if she could come in more frequently, if we could drug test her more frequently, all sorts of protective measures, and she's clean and sober today. She's a graduate, a very recent graduate of EMT classes through Albany County. She has held and maintained a job for her entire time in our program. She has over a year clean and sober from injecting drugs. And we have every confidence that she's going to be an enormously successful contributing member of this community. Another example, last example, Tony came into the program after being in the detention center for a year. He has 10 to 12 years currently prison time hanging over his head. His crime wasn't one that drug court would normally have considered, but it was committed during a blackout and a direct result of alcoholism. So drug court took a chance on him. Since he came into the program, he's actively worked on himself and the behavior that brought him into drug court. He's extremely engaged in therapy. He has completed all of the requirements in record time and just really done a phenomenal job recognizing how addiction caused this enormous crime in his life. Beyond that, he's created a group for men in our program who are dads called Dads Then and Dads Now. And he works with other dads in the program. They meet, I think, bi-weekly-ish?
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday. And their whole purpose is to intentionally spend time with their children being positive role models and fathers, which, if you know anything about fatherlessness and the connection to crime and drug use later in life, I just find that so profound. It's an incredible way for them to give back to their children and benefit the community later. So they do that every week. He's also working to start a mentorship program within our drug court program where, successful peers, beyond the peer specialists, successful peers can tell their stories and work with other individuals as they have struggles and challenges throughout the program. He has over 730 days of sobriety. This was written a week ago, so 737-ish days of sobriety at this point. He's moving to the final phase of our program and will graduate here pretty quick and again be another contributing member to this community. So those are just, a few simple examples from our drug court program. Those are only four stories of the 39 people we've had in the last year. I am biased, but I think that drug court is an enormously beneficial program to our community and society at large, and just the opportunity to see lives change every single day and people restore their lives and get off of drugs and alcohol is just absolutely profound. So your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. I mentioned in the last year we had 5 participants start educational programs. Our participants have also performed over 600 hours in Laramie alone of community service. And we've graduated 16 individuals successfully in the last calendar year. So I think we're a huge success. And I would like to, with your permission, introduce Taylor Jarnigan, our peer specialist, just because I don't think there's any more profound example of what our program can do for people than Taylor. Sorry, Taylor, to put you on the spot, but she is just a phenomenal example of what can happen as a result of participation in drug court.
Thanks, Rebecca. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So like she said, my name is Taylor Jernigan. I am a meth addict and an alcoholic. I was sentenced in the drug court in November 2018, but I absconded and I got tired of the life and I turned myself in. And our previous probation agent, Heather Carter, came into the jail and talked to me and asked if I would be interested in doing drug court, and I thought I was going to prison. My underlying was 5 to 7 years. So when she asked me that, I was like, wow, I didn't think that I had that chance. So when I entered drug court in January of 2020, I had lost everything. I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have any clothes. I didn't have a job. It was really hard for me to find a job. I have face tattoos, neck tattoos, gap in work history. My name has been in the paper many times. So with the help of drug court, I was able to find a couple of jobs, and I got my own apartment. I got my license back. I got a car. And I really found out that, you know, I'm capable of doing these things, and I liked a sober life. And I was able to just keep going with momentum. And then I graduated in January of 2021 and started working as a peer specialist a year ago. And I'll be starting school this month for the first time at LCCC for a sociology degree. And I have over 2 years of sobriety.
I love that. That's what they do at drug court, is clap for everyone. I've had the opportunity in this last year to attend several drug courts, and not all of them have been graduation, but a lot of them have been. And I just want to attest to Rachel and her team. They do such an awesome job, and you hear it from these graduates once they've gone through the program, and they're just so appreciative of everything her team does. And I also like that Judge Bob is not only does he serve as the judge, but he also is a friend to them. He knows them personally. Every time they are up at the podium, he asks something personal of them. If they're not forthcoming, then he prods them. And it's just outstanding how much these guys know. And as Rebecca said, they really get in their face as far as getting to know them and entering their personal lives. And these people have to ask for permission just to go shopping in Cheyenne. And also, you know, they are very well monitored. And I think that's just part of this program that shows how well it works when people are willing to actually comply to everything. And I'm just so proud of Rebecca, because she came in a difficult situation, coming here when we were losing somebody who was very well received by the clients or the participants. And she has filled those shoes and even further. Done such a good job. She's very well respected, as well as the whole team. So I just want to give them another round of applause, because I think this is an awesome program. And I'm just so happy to have get to come and see some of this, and to get to supervise Rebecca, because I'm in the know, and she keeps me up to date about things that are going on. And also, I just really believe strongly in this program.
Thank you, Rebecca. Mr. Richardson, anything?
I do have a comment. It has to be very good to go from like the domestic violence and law enforcement side is like you pick up the pieces in the middle of the night and try to get everybody together where they can have food and go to bed safe and whatever, right? And this is, of course, a much more deliberate way to help people. I have some thoughts on this subject. It is a basic human tendency. When we know we're in trouble, we hide, right? And we don't ask for it. Like, I don't know why, you know, somebody's choking on something in a restaurant, they run to the bathroom and die there instead of saying, help me, right? It's just what we do. It's a human thing. And, you know, maybe it's shame, or self-consciousness, or embarrassment, or we start to believe that we're broken and we can't be saved, and we feel like a burden on everybody and all that kind of stuff. There's a thing they do in Japan where whenever a piece of pottery gets broken, they put it back together with gold. And I don't know if you've ever seen this or if you're familiar with it, but they basically highlight all of its flaws and put it back together, and it's more beautiful than it was before, right? If the only way we get better as people is through adversity, right? And so I'm always struck whenever I've been a coach, I'm just a people guy, and I'm always drawn towards the people who are the least tidy. There's something about people who will take chances and people who are bold or fiery or, whatever it is, like the total live in the box kind of people are not, I appreciate them. But they're not who I'm drawn to. And so it's important for everyone who comes through drug court to understand that they're beautiful when they end up being more beautiful when they're done. It's hard to even believe that about yourself especially when you cause all kinds of anguish for people around you who love you. Right? So I always like these things. They warm my heart, and they make me feel better, For a few days, I get to carry some extra happiness in me, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. If I may speak to what you originally said, domestic violence work was largely crisis and putting out the crisis and getting people safe. And then I never, at least not with extreme regularity, ever saw really where it went to its finish, where people moved on to, or if they stayed safer. And so I think this is a really unique opportunity. It's not just crisis work, right? Like some of the initial intake stuff is crisis, helping people figure out where to live and how not to use today and what they're going to eat. But then we get to go beyond that and watch them grow and watch them succeed. And even just, watching someone put together 1 month of sobriety, 1 month without using a needle for the first time in 14, 15 years, like it's so powerful. And then to watch them go from that being the hugest success of their life to now I'm entering college, or I'm graduating EMT classes, or Taylor is going to college this semester. Like it's just really profound. It really is.
Well, government people love statistics, right? So you're talking about savings, like program costs versus incarceration costs. Right. But ultimately, there's not really a way to measure the value that a person can produce over their lifetime. It's not possible. And people aren't utilitarian anyway. It's not like, do I put tires on that car or not? It's a person, made in the image and likeness of God. Everyone has value. They need to be,
Agreed.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Rebecca, I'm so thankful that you came to talk to us. So inspired and proud. Taylor, I'm incredibly inspired. I can't imagine your courage. I don't think I would have that courage. And so thank you. Claire, thank you for the work. Rebecca, thank you for the work you do. And then for the people who developed this program many years ago, I think County Attorney Trent, Judge Southards, many people I'm not remembering or knowing. I'm so appreciative of my community for seeing everybody as an opportunity and worthy and valuable. So thank you. I'm with Commissioner Richardson and Commissioner Rivera. This makes my day, right? And so please keep up the good work and share with us some more stories in the coming days and months, all right?
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 21, discuss the courthouse copy cart. From one good idea to the next.
Tell us about coffee.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh, good afternoon, I think officially. Commissioners, I have never been to a commissioner meeting.
Yeah.
I'm here on behalf of, I would call her Judge Cricken. If she was in here, she would probably say Tori. I don't ever call her that, so that's weird to me, but that's probably how some of you guys know her. Her and I have kind of spitballed an idea of getting a little coffee cart. We have this beautiful entryway now. We've got a little more space, and we've got a lot of people in the building who like coffee, who would love to have something close by. You don't have to leave. Parking is a nightmare, as many of you know. If you don't have a spot, it's a nightmare to find somewhere to park out there. So if you get a good one, you don't want to leave. You don't want to, in the middle of winter, you don't want to walk down to Cold Creek. Maybe in the summer, but who wants a cup of hot coffee in the summer? So, well, I do, but so we're just trying to figure out how do we do this? What is the process? Does it need to go out to bid to the public so other people do, we're not asking for money. We wouldn't, it would be obviously, we've looked at carts for sale online. We could put together a proposal. So we're just kind of looking for direction and trying to get our foot in the door to figure something out. So, and I know there's discussion also of security and where everything's going to go. So the space might be limited as we move forward, but just wanted to start a discussion about
Awesome. Jennifer, looks like you have something. No. Okay.
it.
Commissioners, any questions?
Are we required to go out to bid for something like this so that the public feels like they have some say in this?
It depends upon how you would ultimately want it structured. If it's something that district court is going to own and they're going to buy it and staff it and do whatever, they would need permission from the commissioners to put it in the courthouse. If they're going to do that, then we would have to, if they're handling all of it, then that's a different discussion than if we're going to buy it and then hire somebody to run it, or if we're going to put out a bid to have somebody buy one and bring one in, then it would be a question of a lease or commissions or what that would look like. So I think preliminary discussion wise, it's
That already gives us some answer.
right.
Yeah.
What you guys would like to see, what Judge Cricket is proposing, and Kayla.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be great fun. I also don't think that any department or the county and our departments shouldn't be in the coffee business. I think also, I don't know that we necessarily need revenue, if it's because they're gonna be plugged into the wall or run an espresso machine or whatever. Maybe we need $50 a month so we can pay for the power meters. I don't know. But so if I look at it from the private business side, I'm going pretty fast here, so I don't think that we should be in it, but there's lots of places where you see in public spaces, private business taking advantage of that opportunity, of that grouping of people, right? And that space to have a little business. So, and I think that would be fine. I mean, so to me, it seems like because we're the county, we probably would need to put it out there to take, I don't know, there's 15, 20, 30 coffee businesses in town, and some of them already have a cart, right? Where they have 3 carts and one of them's sitting in the garage somewhere because they only take it out for certain reasons, right? Like this kind of equipment already exists. I've seen John Guerin and Jody Guerin take theirs on the tour to Wyoming, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. So from my perspective, I mean, I don't know that the county needs to make money off of it. We probably ought to cover the utility costs of any sort of, I don't know, maybe the devil's in the details, right? Liability, indemnification, just that kind of stuff, building access, stuff like that. But to have a coffee cart, like down there by the elevator where people first walk in, right in the center, I think it'd be great. So if we went and chose a vendor and said, we want you, maybe that would drive everyone else nuts. Maybe we would need to have a process where we give everybody a chance. And we decide what that space is worth, $100 a month or whatever. I mean, we might as well, if we're gonna allow business in here, we might as well get a few bucks for it. Or make them pay 3% or 5% or something. And maybe it'll work, or maybe they'll say, we can't make any money here, and they'll say, we want to go away, we don't want to do this anymore. So that's kind of how I would see it going if I, as a commissioner. And I'm sure that the contract to use the space would be short. It would be a couple of pages, except that it would be a template that would have like 27,000 irrelevant things in it. And then,
That's what I do.
and then they could come in and plug into the wall and start making our whole place smell really yummy. Bring some pastries with them. I don't know, whatever.
That was another thought, just prepackaged food, salads or muffins or something, just, yeah, cold sandwiches.
The good thing about business is they figure it out.
Yeah.
You don't even have to tell them. You just figure it out.
Jennifer, your eyes say that you have something to.
I generally agree with what Commissioner Richardson has said. I would say though, that if we're going to not have it be purchased by district court and they're in charge of it as a separate entity in all your spare time.
Yeah, right. A lot.
But if we're going to put it out to bid to people in the community, I do think we need to have some kind of if we're giving somebody the opportunity to make money on county property, it's a benefit to the employees and the public who come in. But I think also that there should be some type of revenue source to the county,
Sure.
Be it a minimal rental amount and a percentage of commissions or whatever it is that's appropriate. I don't know what that is.
Well, people could bid, right?
Yeah.
They could tell you what they're willing to pay
Mhm.
for it, and you could just figure out what that would be. Kayla, is that your thought? Was
We
somebody
could
else
choose
would
the
run
most
case?
lucrative one.
Well, I think Tori, I'll say, she is a go-getter and she loves to just create and take an idea and run with it. So I know that she would be more than happy to put a proposal together if it needed to go out to bid. I think she thinks it would even be fun for her to do something like that. She always loves to learn new things. She's very motivated and I'm right there with her. I'm pretty new around here, but she is very inspiring. And so I think we're both interested in seeing how far we could take it, just as like a private investment that her and I did on our own. But if it just becomes not feasible, then, we're not gonna pull things up. If somebody says, no, I already have a cart, I own Coal Creek, I already have a cart and I have been waiting for this opportunity, and, we're not gonna, we don't want to muddy up. Mostly we just want
You want coffee more than you want to be in business?
I am too busy to leave my office.
Right.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting if any county entity or like the district court owned it, then you have to figure out internally if that fits in your mission and whether you're allowed to do that, what you do with the revenue.
Definitely something else.
That would
we
be
have-
weird. So to me, you would be bidding to do it, you'd be responding to the request the same as everyone else, right?
Absolutely. That's kind of what I said. That's what I came today, is to just get some information on how do we put this out to the public? How do we get it on an agenda somewhere? So that her and I can start putting time and effort into it if it seems feasible.
And Jennifer?
So then I think it comes down to a question for you as the commissioners. Is this something you'd like to pursue? Would you like to start putting together an RFP for somebody to put a coffee cart in? And we can work on some generals, our office can work on it with input from Tori and Kayla, since they've already done a ton of work
We need
to fit the
expert.
vision of what you would like it to look like. And then we could put in an RFP to put in a coffee cart that then Tori and Kayla could bid on, either through their office or through an individual entity that they create, as well as anybody in the public.
Yeah, I think that sounds the most reasonable to me.
Okay.
You know, because you have a really nice area. You've got
Sure.
now public art in there.
Yep.
And if we could get some music, just low, right? But music, you might have me in there for anyway, right?
Right.
Just looking at art,
Sure.
drinking tea. So,
Are we gonna have to start putting benches in there?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could bring a little pub table and 4 chairs.
There you go.
That's, I don't know if you guys
Whatever.
have been to the courthouse in Laramie County, but they
Yeah.
have a nice little coffee shop in their atrium, and I've been in there multiple times, and I love their quiche. That's what I always get.
I
But yeah, I kind of have that vision.
I don't see any reason why not. I mean, that would be something very nice.
yeah,
Okay.
And, you know, we're far enough removed from downtown that there's kind of a whole different circle. You know, you can, if you're more than like a block and a half from a cup of coffee, a good one, it's a problem.
Especially when you're down here and you have to get parking.
Yeah.
Like you come and you park in the morning and then most of us don't even leave during the day because we're like, no, I'm parked. I have all my things to do. I'm just staying here all day.
You know, if you get that hungry, you walk over to Ace and get a bag of chips or whatever.
Yeah, but
Or
if I
somebody
work
will
at Ace,
deliver to you.
if I work at Ace, I'm gonna walk across to the
And get a
courthouse.
cup of coffee. A hot cup of
Especially
coffee,
if it's-
Well, it
absolutely.
serves our clients until coming in, to
It
do
does.
business, they can get.
There's
Get
a
a
lot,
cup of
yeah,
coffee
there's a
on your
lot of
Get
times
something,
Yeah.
people come in at 8 and the offices don't open till 9
Right.
and they're just kind of sitting. They might like get a
Yeah.
cup of coffee while we, I don't have to tell you guys on it. It sounds funny.
yeah.
I like
I like the idea, Kayla. Thank you and Judge Cricket for coming it up and.
Thank you
coming up with
for
it.
your
You
time.
guys
Super
work-
fun.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds like a cool idea.
We'll work with you and Judge and get it done.
Awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm glad somebody thought of that.
That's a great idea.
Good use of space.
All right, 22, consider city council resolution 2021-41, resolution appointing 2 members to the Laramie Regional Airport Board for the city of Laramie, Wyoming. I think this was an oversight
That's correct.
by the commission initially. And so these is Bob and Malia, excuse me, Robert Southard and Malia Brown. And so I'd entertain a motion if you don't have any questions about that item.
So I had the question, you know, I'm reading this and I'm like, well, that was 6 months ago. So are we just saying that we never sort of did our half of the,
Yeah.
sort of the affirmation of the, because Bob's partial term expired a couple days ago and he's in the next item. It just made my brain do a little thing for a minute anyway. I move that we approve City Council Resolution 2021-041. A resolution appointing, or that, I guess we're concurring with City Council Resolution 2021-41, appointing 2 members to the Laramie Regional Airport Board for the city of Laramie, Wyoming.
Second,
Move and second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
I,
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 23, consider city council resolution 2022-XX and Albany County Board of Commissioners resolution 2022-002, resolution appointing 1 member to the Laramie Regional Airport Board for the city of Laramie, Wyoming. The city will probably take that up tonight. Is probably why we don't have a number on that. This is Bob Southern for till 2026. I'd entertain any motion or any questions if you had it.
Oh, I have a question about the last one.
Sure.
So if we are going to concur with their appointments, are we supposed to have our own resolution that's kind of a mirror of theirs? You know, how do we, that's why I changed from approve to concur, because like we can't approve a city council resolution, that's theirs, right? So,
Usually,
but like in this case, so then this one right behind it, we have our own resolution doing the same. So the process that we're engaging in is different from one item to another, and I wanted to understand why that is.
let me go back and look. I believe when we first did it, there was, I believe when we first did these, that there was maybe we each had separate ones. I'm looking just a minute here to see if I can find it.
Because I like the language in item 23 better.
Identify two separate resolutions.
Well, I mean, they have theirs and then, yeah, we make one that's our own that agrees with theirs.
There is a place for us to sign on their resolution, however, both myself and Jackie.
There's, yes, I can't find it really quickly. I thought we did ours and we just needed to concur with theirs, but I could be wrong.
I think
Yeah,
we've done it different every time.
I think so.
I
And
hate
I
to say
think,
that, but
I think you're not wrong. I think that we, hold on.
I'm okay, yeah, so that's why I changed my motion to say concur, because I don't think we can really approve.
Yes, so what we did when we first had the big switch in the board was we had our resolution appointing Tracy. That was our resolution 2021-021. So that was our resolution. And then we had the city's signature lines at the bottom. On the next, so this is their resolution with our signature lines. So it should be a concur on this one. When we did Dan Johnson, and for the additional resolutions that we have done since then, I think we were trying to get it to where, maybe it wasn't for this. It was for the MOUs. That's what it was for. We were trying to do it where it has the city and the county, both resolution numbers on the same document. We just don't have that for the board member appointments.
Gotcha. So maybe we could standardize it at some point, but
We'll work on it.
but what we did is fine.
Yeah, so I think we just need to concur with the city's council's resolution because they signed concurring with ours when we appointed Tracy.
So should we have resolution 2022,
Yeah.
002, this one on this next line item? Because is this our appointment or theirs? This is
Theirs. So,
because we could just concur and sign their thing, couldn't we?
yeah, on 2022, I think you are just gonna concur and sign. Oh no, ours has a resolution number. So this is a joint one.
Gotcha,
For the
where you made them land on the same page.
Yes.
Gotcha.
For the replacement one, it is a joint one. Previously, for the one where we were just doing the city's 2021-41, those were separate. This one is joint.
I like that better. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 23 as presented.
After all that, sorry.
Please let me in there a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, as opposed, same sign. Item 24, approved vouchers for December 2021. I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve vouchers for 2021, December 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Seeing no more business before the county commission on January 4th of 2022. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for checking in with us today, both online and in person. And we'll look forward to talking with you 2 weeks from now at a night meeting on the 18th, starting at 6 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.